Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of the It's Okay to Cry Entertainment podcast. We are very
Hello.
glad to see you back. We've had a little struggle, but we're back.
We've been gone for a while, yeah.
Yeah,
Struggles. Kind of putting it lightly.
something Corona excuses.
something, tests and, disappointing results.
But at least we're now all practicing proper social distancing. So,
Definitely.
from the comfort of our own homes, we are back with another episode.
Definitely your own home.
Well, I mean, yeah.
Yeah.
Close enough.
I mean, I figured out where Guus lives. Well,
Okay.
not where he lives. No, actually, I didn't figure it out. I'm majorly confused. Because Guus is our
Yeah, minor
partner
bit
in
of detail,
the.
you might not want to dox him.
No. But if I dox him, I'm also gonna dox other people. So if
That doesn't make it better, but sure.
yeah, you get it. But like he was our project partner for the Project Koala. And we follow him on Instagram, and he
course.
posts cat pictures.
They're the best.
Now he lives in Amsterdam, right? Or at least
I didn't know that.
that's the story he told us.
Ooh.
However,
This is intriguing.
he tags his location in the Instagram posts a couple of streets away from my girlfriend's place. Where I'm like, I'm very intrigued.
Maybe
I
his parents'
think-
place or something? Or, I mean, it
Yeah,
could be that he just
might-
moved back in with his parents because, I can imagine that it's boring.
There's a lot of stuff that can be going on, but I don't know. Quarantine gets to me, you know.
It's the quarantine that'll get you.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah. It's only been like, a month or so, and the quarantine has Lumen checking out like some random addresses of people he used to work with.
Oh,
Yeah,
that's
well,
great. No, it's been more than
at
a
least-
month, hasn't it?
Yeah,
Please tell me
no,
it's been
that's-
more than a month. It feels like so much more.
It's been
It feels
around
like an
5
eternity.
Yeah. When did you come back from Sweden?
Yeah, it's been more than a month.
The 22nd of March.
Yeah, it's been more than a month.
Friday.
Yeah.
That's
I think it's.
yeah.
Oh yeah, it's
But
pretty much
about
been
a month
half
and a
March.
half, I think. Then.
Yeah.
Whatever. Oh well.
Yeah.
Anyway, that's enough for Corona for now. I think.
Yeah.
Except if
Yeah.
anybody has some interesting Corona updates.
You
No.
got hit by the sea.
Well, the first animal in the Netherlands is infected, so
Really?
It's
Yeah.
it's not the first animal, but it's the first farm.
okay.
Mm.
Well, like mass production farm. Like
Yeah,
there
yeah.
are a few cases of pets known, like pets getting it, but ferrets can get it, and
Oh.
the whole family of ferrets can get coronavirus. And there's this farm where they farm a species of ferrets for their fur, for jackets, and
Oh, okay.
there's 13,000 of them in the farm, and there have been a couple known to be infected. So
Well,
Hold up, can you rewind? A ferret farm for jackets. Is that a
yes.
thing?
yeah,
Ferret
Yeah,
fur.
yeah.
yeah, for the fur.
But like ferrets, they aren't very big, right?
I mean,
So why could you
No,
make
they're,
No, these
Why
are
would
like
you choose
like
ferrets
for
for
the-
they're like an XXL hamster, and
pretty much.
like a long hamster, basically.
This is pretty much what the
You take a
the
hamster, and you
sashes
just
on some jackets are made
Yeah.
of, right?
It's
The
like
ones that are
Oh.
supposed to look really cool.
it's
The
like
ones
when you try a ferret is like you have an image of a hamster and you try to resize it, but you forget to hold shift, and so you only resize it in like the length, and that's a ferret.
yeah,
Sounds
Yeah,
pretty accurate, actually. Yeah.
Oh, and also they're a bit meaner and less chubby, but
Mm,
that's the gist. That's the gist of it. And yeah, my mother decided that this is the best time to just start vacuuming upstairs. So hope
I
that
do
doesn't.
not hear anything, so
Oh, okay,
You-
okay,
you
then it's
good.
just not loud enough. Because
That's a
sometimes, like, if she
silent
repetitions, you hear
suck.
like a tick, and
Oh,
then I see like my screen light up, like, oh, you're talking, and I'm like, no.
All right. So, what's on the agenda for today?
Well,
That's a good
in
question.
other news,
Ooh.
we have just started work on a new game.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's called High Rise of Sacrifice.
Whoa.
There will be more teasers and information in the following months. But for now,
Definitely.
it's going to be our first commercial project.
Mm-hmm.
It's going to be a roguelite. And it's going to have vertical platforming.
Yeah.
And I think that's about everything that we can say at this point.
Well said. Well
The
said.
best sales pitch ever.
Yeah, it was not very hyped, was it?
No.
But yeah,
No,
so yeah,
not,
it's
not really.
Anybody
But
else want to do that? And
The
then we
hype
just
is gonna
cut it
come.
in
Like,
post.
like at the moment in the development stage, like we're able to draw pictures to a screen. So I mean, it's
We're
good
getting there,
progress,
basically.
We're
but
getting
the
there.
hype isn't really
Yeah.
there yet. But it's getting there, you know.
Yeah,
Like we have got the release. Or can we say that already when we're planning to
Release
I
release
would
it
not
now?
recommend.
No.
Okay, so it's gonna be a little
Bro,
while.
our engine
so,
isn't done
Yeah.
yet.
Yeah,
Yeah, okay.
That's not
So
Yeah,
done
but
it's
already.
gonna
basically
be at least a little while. So
our schedule is set around the summer vacation, but probably we won't make it for a commercial project at that point. I think we're looking for alpha or beta at that time,
Probably.
which
Yeah.
is yeah.
But yeah,
So
it's really
expect
exciting stuff.
hype by that time.
it's the first project that we do without the university being involved at all. So it's the first, like, true It's Okay to
Yeah.
Cry entertainment project.
Which
Yeah,
is really cool and it gives us a lot of shit
pretty
to
epic.
figure out.
Yeah.
Yep. But it's cool. So
Yeah.
yeah.
So well, yeah.
Yeah. That's
Besides the programming you all have been doing, have you guys done anything cool? Because I know I can go off about say 2 games, but I think I should see if you guys have anything interesting to say.
Oh man, I was taking a shit just like half an hour ago, and I had this like.
I was... All right, no, go on.
I was
That's what
taking
we're
the
doing.
shit, and I had this like thing in my head, like, oh, I should totally talk about that in the podcast. That's something I like. I've done it in the last week. I could talk about it. Yeah, and now I'm like, what the fuck was it again? I totally lost it. So I have no
Oh,
clue.
God. Well, what have you been doing the past week?
besides
Well-
getting socks from your mother.
Oh,
Uh-huh.
I mean,
yeah,
that's
medium burn.
Medium.
that's not a burn. I mean, it's
Yeah.
it's the truth.
You've been getting socks from your mother.
I have
like
been
big
getting.
time.
Oh,
Oh yeah, yeah,
heard-
same.
I heard sucks. Like
Same.
getting sucks from your mother. I was like,
Same.
No.
No,
Like,
I've been getting an
clothing.
enormous amount of socks, but they're very cool and very comfortable. So
Nice.
No
nice.
one is
We're all very
complaining.
jealous.
Good socks. I am really, really working hard in my head right now to remember what the fuck I've been doing the last 6 days. I think I've mostly been working on a project. Really, have I done anything else?
Yeah, you've been putting out a lot of work, making me feel bad for not being at the 20-hour mark.
That's okay.
Oh no, same.
No, but like honestly, so far I've put in like 0 hours. Well,
That's not true. You made the camera, boy.
yeah, I
you
put
did
in like
camera.
2 hours at I think, but like you guys did a whole lot, and I was just sitting
Oh
here.
no. I think I've actually done less so far. I've really been working on graphics and data structures.
Oh, you've
Yeah.
been
For
actually
university
doing.
courses.
You've
Yeah.
been doing
Imagine
university
doing
stuff.
uni homework.
Yeah, no, like
I'm trying, boys. I'm really trying.
Imagine
like
passing uni.
if it weren't for Corona, I cannot fail another subject or I won't make this year. I mean, because
Yeah.
of Corona, it doesn't matter anymore. But like for my own like
Yeah.
knowing how I'm standing, I kind of want to make this year on the normal terms.
Mhm.
And
Yeah.
so I've kind of been focusing on university first. That being said, I'm done with all the homework for this week. So tomorrow I have like a full 24 hours. I mean, let's say that I'm awake for 24 hours
Yeah, sure.
of working on it.
Yeah.
and I've done like an hour.
I
of
mean,
wo- an hour.
Speaking
was-
of which,
physics.
oh god, yeah,
Yes.
that makes me think. I'm gonna try to do a new sleep schedule, and it's gonna be interesting.
Ooh,
Oh yeah. Oh my god.
I wish you luck.
Because I've been reading up way too much on like dividing up your sleep schedule in 2 parts and all that. Like,
Oh, yeah.
We've all
I
seen
did
the
that in
endless
high
YouTube
school. It
videos of
kind of
people
works,
doing
but
this.
it's shit to get into.
Yeah, but it's supposed to be really cool, and I've like wanted to do this for like 2 years, and I figured, well, actually, we don't have anywhere to be for like the
Wait,
next
so is it
month.
like
But,
2 times 3 hours or something?
Yeah, I've never
No,
heard
it's
of
not.
this.
I'm going in easy.
Okay.
I'll have one because okay. So for most people, this will actually be a lot, but I usually need 8 to 9 hours of sleep a day.
Yeah.
So my new sleep schedule will be 6 hours of sleep at night, and then 3 20-minute naps,
Yeah.
Holy shit.
which
Your
will actually
first-
be
Wow,
2 hours
okay, so
less
it's
than my normal sleep
an
amount.
hour. Okay, yeah.
No.
And it's supposed to get me into like, because the thing is, if I could consistently sleep the same 8 hours in a night,
Yeah.
I'd be totally fine.
Yeah.
But I can't, because every once in a while I want to game with friends till late or whatever. And I've just completely wrecked up my system. So now I have a sleep schedule that makes me sleep from 2 at night till 8 at night, till 8 in the morning, so I can go on gaming late and still be in schedule.
Yeah.
That's the plan anyway. I'll be back in a week crying about how bad
Yeah.
it was probably, but
Yeah,
you know.
probably. Yeah.
Yeah, but that being said, I mean, like, because of I'm always busy at night. Like after I finish dinner, we've like been our dinners is later and later and later because no one has anywhere to go. Like normally
Yeah,
we all
yeah.
have things to do. So we're like
Same.
eating dinner 2 hours later than normal, and so I'm going to sleep 2 hours later than normal because I feel like I have to get the same amount of things done after dinner. And like my sleep schedule was so messed up, and I didn't really notice until last night when I slept like 10 hours, and I woke up this morning and I was like, "Oh my god, I'm gonna die. This is just not
Yeah, but-
enough sleep."
The thing is, sleeping more than 9 hours for me really just messes up my system more than sleeping 6 hours.
Yeah.
Like if I sleep 6 hours and I get up, then I'm like, oh wow, I'm kind of tired, but I have a productive day. If I sleep 10
Yeah.
hours, my day's gone.
Yeah, no, but like I can consistently sleep like 5 or 6 hours a night for like a week, no problem. But then, like, if I then sleep a night for like 10 hours and my camera's falling over, why are you doing that?
Yeah. You're just very
That's
slowly
weird.
fading out of screen.
Yeah, my webcam is currently taped to my monitor because I bought a second hand and the guy didn't deliver it with a stand. So, well,
Yeah.
it's just a bit of duct tape, but, well, not actually duct tape, but okay, but like I can just consistently sleep like 5 or 6 hours a night for a week, but then once I sleep a good night, like 10 hours or something, I suddenly get hit by how tired I am. So this day I've just been
Yeah,
a zombie and my eyes hurt.
my-
And
My speculation is that sleeping the 10 hours doesn't hit you with how tired you are. It just makes your body feel like it can sleep more, so it wants to sleep more.
Yeah.
could
I
be-
have a
think
lot
that's-
more research to do on this subject, by the way, which I am gonna do. But I'll report with my findings back in a week because I'm very curious. My eventual plan is to move to a sleep schedule that because this is apparently possible to move to a sleep schedule that has 5 to 6 hours of sleep and actually makes me feel rested.
Mhm.
So
Yeah, that's the dream.
you know, I'm trying to get there.
So anyway, in other news,
Yeah,
my
I think
I have
Bannerlord.
the I won't even get into the games yet. First, I'm
Okay,
gonna talk
okay.
about my other favorite money pit. My
tell.
let's call it the motorcycle. You know, I mean, just bump up the numbers a bit. My employer, my real employer, you know, not you guys, have decided to sponsor all their employees with 100 euros to support a local business,
Oh,
which means that I
Okay.
will be upgrading my motorcycle with a battery and redoing the entire electrical system.
Battery critical.
you finally get a motor that works?
It-
no.
No.
It already runs, dude. It just,
Yeah, it starts. Kinda. Sometimes. But
Yeah,
you know,
okay, hilarious. I mean, it's 40 years old, you know. I mean, that's
I still have a video on my phone of you
yeah.
desperately
No,
trying
you
to
have-
start
you have
up.
2 videos because you ran out of you hit the max time. Yeah, but anyway, so I'm gonna do that tomorrow. But yeah, games.
Charging battery.
You know, I've gotten addicted to games. You know,
No, tell. Do
and
tell.
you've got Mountain Blade 2 Bannerlord, which is awesome because I've been playing Mountain Blade Warband since 2013, I think.
Yeah, it's funny because I think we actually
Yeah.
touched on this last episode where we're just like, oh
Yeah.
yeah, Bannerlord just came out of nowhere.
Yeah,
Yeah, we did.
it's just gonna get dropped in a couple of days. I bought it the day after it was released, and I have now got roughly 80 hours, I think, maybe 90.
Okay, in how many
Um,
days?
It dropped on the 4th of April, I think.
So
So
that's 20 days.
I mean,
call it
that's like a
20 days.
consistent, like, what, 5 hours a day?
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah, that's
respectable.
Damn.
combine that with the fact that earlier this week I bought Red Dead Redemption 2.
Ah,
And boy, is it
Ah.
good.
Yeah?
It's yeah, although, well, I mean, now I'm gonna go into the Far Cry bit again. They've done open world wrong, in my opinion.
mm.
Okay.
But like somehow I'm starting to doubt how I would consider open world to be done right, because here I feel they've both made the map too big, added the right amount of. They've done the minimap right. They've done the map right. They've done all that. They've done it right. But the open world feel for the storyline, they're kind of forcing the storyline of a group of outlaws running across all of America, where you start off in the in the plains. Well, no, it wouldn't even be the plains, but you start off slightly west of the Rockies, east of the Rockies, and then you go to New Orleans, basically. And that's like then you would kind of want separate worlds for that. I would I would think so, at least.
Okay.
Like if you go for that distance, you know, that kind of distance, you've got to somehow separate that. But you can still, within say 5 minutes of gameplay, you can reach the other your starting location basically. And that I don't know, it kind of rubs me the wrong way.
Yeah.
Call me
Okay.
picky, but
I can understand. Yeah.
Is that with
it's
fast travel or is there no fast travel?
no, there is fast travel, but fast travel is kind of weird, and it's easier to just travel.
Oh,
Which
okay.
I think once again is open world done right, and the storyline is great, and the gameplay feels great, and all
Okay.
that. But
Sounds
yeah,
good.
no, it's a really
really-
good game.
It's really hard. I bought Red Dead Redemption 2,
Yeah.
and I really like the game. I really like running around and doing stuff. And God knows I've played way too much poker inside Red Dead Redemption 2.
Yeah,
But but I don't know. I just can't get into the storyline because not that I don't like the storyline, but I just don't like the aggression level, which is a bit of a pussy
Oh,
thing to say. I feel,
yeah,
but
no,
like
no,
there
I
is a side quest. Is it a side quest or a main quest? I don't know. But it's something with a ledger, and you need to get money from people who loan
Oh
money
yeah,
from this kind of
yeah,
German
yeah,
dude.
no,
And
that got me
you
feeling
just
bad.
go like it does a really good job of making you feel shit about it. But at the other side of the coin, I don't think like they should have made it different to really make you think about it, because now it's just like you feel
Yeah.
shit, but the game is forcing you to do it
Yeah, exactly.
instead of just giving you an option to actually try to do it a good way, but making that fucking difficult. It's just
Yeah.
you just have to be a shit person, and
Yeah.
thus and that kind of happens a lot in that game, and I don't really
Yeah,
want to
I
play
think
it
The
because
game's
of
just
that.
forcing you to play the character, right? Where you might not want
Well,
to.
no, that's the thing.
Or-
They set it up in such a way where you've got an honor track and everything. So you start the game off with this mindset, hey, I'm part of a group of outlaws, but I can be a good guy outlaw, you know?
Okay,
Just
right.
don't,
Yeah,
don't
sure.
play by the rules, but play by the morals, you know? That's
Yeah,
like,
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Chaotic good.
and that's, I really enjoy that kind of playstyle, you know, like
Mhm.
um, but you can't do that. And I started off trying to do that, and then
Yeah.
I couldn't, and then yeah, the money
It's
money
like
lending missions just fucked me.
it's like you can try. They make these systems so you can choose to be either like a good, like morally good or bad.
Mhm.
But then by doing the quests, they kind of force
Yeah.
you into being a shitbag.
Oh,
And so I
okay.
just ignore the quests and play the game, just hunting and caring for my camp and shit. But then I,
Yeah.
can't really continue in the game because I'm not doing the quest.
Right. So
So
to
I kind of
continue
stopped
the
playing it.
main storyline, you have to be a jerk.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, no, okay, this wouldn't be a game for me.
Yeah, and it's like
I'm really bad at
if
being a
you
jerk, even in game.
if you put it in context with GTA 5,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
it's like for the storyline, the only storyline you get is you being Trevor.
Right. Okay. Oh yeah. Okay. Fair enough.
And
Yeah,
that's
that does
Explain
it.
a
That
little
about
late.
does it.
and that's somehow it's really intense and it's really not fun, especially if they set it up like you could be Michael or Franklin, but hey, you're
Right.
forced to be Trevor.
Yeah. So let me get this straight. You basically get dropped into this world. There are systems that allow you to have a choice in how good or bad you want to be.
There's an honor system, you know?
Yeah. And
Yeah.
while free roaming, you get that choice, but just to continue the main story, you have to basically pick one of them.
Roughly, yeah. No, you don't have to pick one of them.
don't pick. You will pick
Yeah,
the bad.
yeah,
You must
yeah.
funnel
Fair
the bad
enough.
side.
Yeah.
No.
You have to pick the specific one that makes you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I can see how that's kind of.
And
Somewhere
it's logical if they wanted to tell they tell a good story.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And so it's understandable that they don't want you to make a choice because that could derail the whole story. But then why not make the game different so that from the get go you don't have a choice?
Yeah.
So this is a
Yeah,
game where
I
I
mean-
will play the story and not.
Like in the early game, you rob the train, and then you get the
Mhm.
choice of do you shoot the captives, do you force the captives on the train before you run the train off the tracks, or do you release the captives?
Right. Okay.
Those are three choices.
Yeah.
I feel like this is a really well thought out storyline. This is amazing. I can actually use the whole honor system and everything,
Mhm.
and then they just let that go, especially
But,
the more you progress.
Yeah.
Right.
but
Which is
like,
funny.
if you choose like release the captives, would that come back to bite you? Like, is it like you release them and then like in a later cutscene it's like, oh, you released those guys and they totally told on you and now you're in big shit? Because if that happens, you can like say, okay, now your character has a reason to be a jerk because he tried to not be, and well,
Yeah, I
didn't
don't
work
know.
out.
And he's like, it's this whole weird thing where you come this close to having like moral engagement,
Mm-hmm.
Hmm.
and then you don't. It's
Yeah, it's kind of what we talked about for Gray Space, right? Which is
Yeah.
a game we tried to do for uni that had moral choices in it, but like we didn't like.
We don't talk about Grace Says. There is
No,
no
I
Grace
know,
Says
but
in
like-
Basing Say.
So okay, so
I
here's
mean,
my
we got a
view on this,
7.5, so-
which I've developed through this conversation and earlier ones, and like general.
No.
There's like levels of moral engagement, right? There's like you there's a story and there's a character you're playing. You have no choice about his actions, but you can sort of relate to the character, and so these are not the choices you might want to make, but you can understand the character wanting to make those decisions, right? Which is kind of like the basic level of moral engagement, where you're like, fair enough, I can sort of get behind this.
Mm-hmm.
Then there's the level where it's like, hey, we have choices that have like either make you the good guy but they're bad for you, or make you the bad guy but they're good for you, right? So like,
No.
because those force you, there's consequences, you have a choice, but also, it's kind of black or white. It's just balancing when you're going to pick one and when you're going to pick the other, or you're just fucking yourself really hard.
Yeah.
And then from that point, there's like the jump that we tried to make in Gray Space, where you have two choices that really you both don't want to choose because they're both morally, yeah. and they also both have like either the same level of like benefit or negative thing, and I think that's like peak moral engagement. And it also allows for personal expression, right? Because it's like you actually make a choice, a value judgment instead of like a gameplay judgment.
But
Yeah.
And
again,
I feel
think,
like Red Dead Redemption just made the mistake in like trying to jump from 2 to 3, but then getting stuck in 1 by just fucking it up.
Yeah, exactly. But like it pretends to be 3 in the beginning, then it's for the whole early game it's stuck in 2. And then it just goes down to 1 as soon as you come to Saint Denis, which is New Orleans, because it. I mean, I'm so disappointed. Like I don't feel motivated to boot up the game anymore now that I've reached that point, because it's also partly because I don't like the city. I don't like the whole feeling of it. I like the idea of we're a bunch of outlaws and we're just running around the West, shooting up saloons, and then the Pinkertons come and you get the fuck out of there and shoot up the next saloon.
Right, yeah, sure.
I really like that stuff. And then there's this storyline where you burn down a house, and well, they took the boy off the camp, like the little kid. There's always a little kid in one of those camps, and then they took the little kid because we were messing with them, and then we burned down their house, and yada yada yada. And that sort of gameplay really depicts the moral compass, and I like that. That's like,
yeah,
I wouldn't choose to burn down the house and shoot the whole family except for the matriarch of the family, but I get that, like, if you mess with the boy, and then they come to you and they say like, give us back the boy, and then they're like, no, we're not going to give you back the boy, and then you shoot them up and then you burn the house. That's like interesting moral stuff.
Yeah, sure.
But that's like level 1, where you're
exactly
where you don't have a choice, but you can relate and you're forced to relate, otherwise you've just burned down a house, and that really messes with you.
Right, which also like kind of forces you to explain it, right? That's really interesting that you mentioned that. Actually, I think that's really cool, that the idea of forcing the player to find meaning in their actions, because otherwise they're just being a jerk.
Yeah, and the funny thing is, the character didn't burn down the house. The group burned down the house, but because they've set up this group of, say, 10 individuals, and that's what they are. They are individuals.
Right.
Every person in the group has got their own character.
Oh, that's really
the
cool.
The women are just kind of a blur for me, because there's not much interaction. There's one who's really cool because she shoots.
Okay.
But it's
sure.
Yeah, but like every character, and you do missions with all of them, but then that's the thing, you can't choose a favorite character, because you can't choose not to do missions with some of them, and then they force you. Your character has a relationship with some of the characters, where I think the characters could be cool and interesting, and I want to explore more with them, do more missions with them, and then build up that relation because I like the horse they're riding or whatever. But then we're right back to level 1 of moral engagement, where you're just sitting there going through the moral thing, like, oh yeah, this guy is a bit lazy, so we hate him. Where I'm like, yeah, it's no.
No, the biggest issue I have with getting into the game is just like you said at the beginning, is you like, it's fun to be a band of outlaws and shoot up saloon, go to next shoot up saloon, and that's fun. That's it's fun to do.
It's just catharsis at its purest. Yeah, I can get behind that.
But if you do that, you don't want, like, if you want a morally engaging story, a story that really questions the person, what they want to do, you can't put that in the same game where you put mechanics where it's like setting you up for just, oh, let's just shoot up a saloon for fun.
Well, it's
because that's it kind of breaks each other.
I think you can, because for me it's like, I play the storyline, and then because of the storyline I don't shoot up the saloon, if you know what I mean. Like because of the storyline and the honor system and the bounty system and all that stuff, I don't want to I don't want to be a known criminal. I don't want to just go into town and shoot a bunch of people. I want to play the storyline. But then in the storyline, you constantly shoot up saloons and do all this stuff where you're like, no, I don't want to do that. yes, I want to rob a stagecoach, but I want to do it without shooting everybody, or I want to rob a stagecoach and shoot everybody and constantly be in trouble with the police. But
Right.
I want to have the choice,
Yeah.
Fair enough.
and they take that away from you
Right.
after dangling it
But-
in
So
front of your
very
face.
briefly,
I do think.
what do you think that the game needs? Like, what is the change that it like? What would push it over that edge for you to make
A
it
choice. Either choose to be
Yeah,
like more morality level 1, you ride along with this character and see the stuff he does, or
No.
choose to be morally open but let the player choose what they want to do.
Yeah, and they could, for level 1, they could keep the storyline exactly the same, but
Mhm.
just take a little bit more choice away from the player in the storyline. The open world is fine.
Right.
Just in the storyline, well, the open world have fewer side quests and all that
Mhm.
stuff where you actually have the moral choice. Take all the choice away. Have an open world you can explore, you can hunt, you can do all the stuff, you can upgrade the camp. That's fine and all. Have the storyline, or have an adaptive storyline. That's the
Yeah.
main part for me.
But I do think that having higher moral engagements means that storytelling becomes way harder
Sure.
because you have to make, 5 different storylines for each.
Sure, but
Yeah,
different
exactly.
plot
So
points.
that's why I thought that your first proposal was interesting, because you actually said that like literally just taking possibilities and options away from the player would
Yeah.
be more engaging because it means they don't come to expect those qualities in
Yeah.
the later story,
Yeah.
right?
it
That's really
would be not necessarily it would not necessarily be more engaging, but it would be less disengaging.
Sure. Yeah.
Like,
Okay.
it's-
Or
fair
even
enough.
less disappointing, just.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Like you feel like this should be a choice that I should be able to make. I made it before. Why can't I do it now?
Fair enough.
so it's and then they also the final bit on Red Dead Redemption. Then we can move on to whatever.
I have an
They
interesting hook on this, but
in
we'll get
in
to that in a
in,
second.
in the mission they well, in some of the missions you turn into this good guy all of a
Okay.
sudden.
But you're still the
and
same
it's-
character.
You're
Yeah.
you're still
It's
the
not
same
like
character, but
GTA
then
where you actually change character, which I
No,
find
no,
really interesting.
you just switch out of your role as tough outlaw, but not because there are kids involved or something,
Mm-hmm.
but just because that's the mission and how they wrote it.
Okay.
And that's also part of the thing where just it breaks it for me because I don't control that. I don't.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So I can't relate to him.
So
I
that's
can
just
relate to
another
him being.
time where the game just rubs in your face, where it's like, hey, you had this choice, but not anymore.
Yeah.
Mhm.
We tried to implement this properly, but we didn't. So
Okay.
all that said, I love the game. That's
Yeah.
Yeah, it's still a fun game.
Yeah.
It's a really fun game, but it's just I think the main story isn't fun to play.
Yeah.
So I don't do it.
Fair enough.
So now we can just name this podcast "Why Red Dead Redemption 2 Sucks" and get tons of
And
views.
get all the views, you know.
Oh,
question
God.
mark,
And the
exclamation
edited-
mark.
For the
edited
record, very
face
briefly,
of Arthur Morgan
1
with like
minute.
these
What,
eyes and the
what
red
makes
arrow.
Red Dead? Oh,
Mhm.
sorry.
Continue.
Okay.
Very briefly, 1 minute, both of you. What makes Red Dead Redemption a good game? Go.
The interactivity
yeah.
with the open world. It's I'm gonna be another one to say it. It's alive. It's reactive. You do stuff. Everything is happening around you. You can do lots of side gigs and funny stuff. You can play poker. You can walk around the town. It's really fun to just mess around with. It's a really good time spender, and it feels really
Yeah.
responsive and real.
It's a great Rockstar game, basically.
All right.
Like everything great about GTA or the GTA series, everything great about the Red Dead Redemption 1, all that they've managed to bundle all that into the world and the world building. And that's just amazing. Combine that
Mhm.
with it's a setting I love. I really like the gunslinger vibe there.
Yeah.
And then they just they and it's not they don't really mess up the storyline. We're ripping on it, but they've still written a really good storyline. They've
Right.
sti-
Yeah.
but yeah, and that's really good, and there's high production quality, but it's just nearly not there. It's just
Yeah.
it's just
Okay.
so
fair
close.
enough. It's the last inches that just make
Yeah.
all the difference. Yeah.
You know why I love Red Dead? Which
Mhm.
is weird because I just ripped on it. I like it because you can walk into the desert, find a guy that is shit-faced drunk, give him a bottle of whiskey, and just sit in the chair next to him and listen to him blabber until he
Yeah.
passes out for like 10 minutes and then move on.
What?
And it does nothing to like anything.
Yeah.
It's just there, and it's amazing.
Just living in Amsterdam, it really gives like a realistic vibe.
Right. Okay.
Yeah, but
This is
It's-
something
that is
I
pretty cool, though,
regularly
not gonna lie.
encounter in the weekend when there's no corona.
It's
Like-
it's past that. It's past. It's better than that because there's literally no consequence for you doing that.
Yeah.
It's literally your choice, and that's really good. Yeah. The same with
That's
playing
cool.
poker and all that stuff. It's you can just play a game.
That's
and-
cool.
Yeah.
You know,
Alright,
I have like
so-
this funny
So on a
story about
related
like
note, oh yes, no, sorry.
yeah,
go ahead.
not about the game Red Dead Redemption or anything, but like about like sitting next to a drunk guy for 10 minutes. I was once like
Hey, don't tell our
in-
secret stories.
No, not our secret stories. It was before I met you guys, Like-
Ah, okay.
just a month or so. But I was like with a friend of mine when I was still in high school. We went to get lunch, and we sat outside, and it was like noon. And this guy came over, had only one shoe, and was like, "Hey!" and just sat next to us and started like pointing at pigeons and like being all excited. And then like two girls came running to us and had like his other shoe and were like, sir, we found your shoe. And the guy was like, "Hey!"
That's
So, yeah,
just
for
amazing.
everyone
Yeah.
thinking like, let's go live in Amsterdam, be prepared. It's a wild place.
Yeah.
Okay.
Right.
New
Yeah.
subject.
So, is there something other than Red Dead Redemption we want to talk about?
Misha said he had an interesting hook.
Yeah.
I
yeah,
think.
yeah,
Yeah.
So
Hit us
this
with
is
the hook.
something. Okay, I know I'm gonna probably get hit for this, but that's okay.
Uh-huh.
We've been getting a bit back into Minecraft, or at least I have recently, which means I started watching some YouTube about it again, which means something popped up on my feed that got me totally fucking hooked. And
Parodies?
those are, do you
Go
not
with
guys
Craft.
know about 2B2T?
Oh
Of
yeah,
course I know
yeah,
about
yeah, yeah.
you.
Okay, so apparently this is just a thing that people know about. Okay, alright. For
Yeah.
everybody who doesn't, it's
Welcome to
an
the oldest
anarchy Minecraft server,
in Minecraft.
which means that it's a server that explicitly has no rules. So, for example, to just like be able to basically play on it, you need to have a hack client so that you can like.
But it's weird because it does have rules. Like
Not really.
it has an owner called he is named Housemaster. No one
Mhm.
knows who he is, but like he has certain rules. Like if you have like these items that should be impossible to get with like sharpness 1000,
Sure,
they will get removed.
sure. Okay.
Like,
but
those kind of
it's-
rules. But
In essence, it's, you guys know the tweet, right? Where they're like, why do we have drug tests on the Olympics? Why don't we just like, fuck it, let's just see what the human body can do? It's that,
Yeah.
but for Minecraft. It's like,
yeah,
everybody's using hack clients. People are constantly like looking for really weird ways like of abusing mechanics, and it's just like Spawn is an absolute fucking mess. It's ridiculous. And I've just been
Yes.
watching YouTube videos, and I really want to like get this experience. But it's gonna.
But,
I
like,
know
the
it's gonna
queue
take a
to get
lot
in
of
is,
time
like,
to
8
properly
hours.
do this.
I was queuing for it because I wanted to get into it once, and I just gave up because
Yeah, same.
yeah, the queue is 8 hours or something.
ain't gonna queue for that shit. Ain't gonna queue for Minecraft.
But like, it's really interesting because on one hand, like, no society would be the way that server is because it's a mess and like nothing can survive there
Hmm.
when you're just starting. But it has really triggered some players like inventability, like the way they think about things and like
Yeah.
it's really amazing. Like for example, I talked about like how illegal items get removed.
Yeah.
If there are too many slots, like if for example, if you have a chest, they will get checked. But if there's too many chests, it will get too heavy for the server to check all those.
Yeah.
And so if you have too many in one place, you get banned
Yeah.
because the server can check it. And so like players have found that the most useful item for this is furnace, and they just stacked tens of thousands of furnaces on top of each other. so that every time a player gets close, they instantly get banned.
Yeah, it's
Those kind of things.
like this is
no
the
one
level
thinks
the
of that.
server is operating at. They're like,
Yeah, it's insane, and they've like made this 25 million block gap between spawn and the rest of the server so that it's harder for new players to get to the server where there's actually living things. All those, it's amazing. I hate it and I love it at the same time.
yeah,
It's
same. But I find it so interesting because it's
yeah,
like it's basically one big moral choice because like so there's people building all sorts of shit and eventually shit gets fucking griefed because there's no one moderating, right? And
Yeah.
yeah,
so,
exactly.
so it's just like it's just very interesting to me how
Yeah,
like
but you also see like this. There are some videos of those bases that are built, and it's it's not just big. It's like massive. It's like
yeah
on the size of things you didn't even think would be possible in a survival world. And they've made that in such an environment, and it's so incredible to just see.
Yeah.
And Arthur is gone. Like,
He might be getting a new beer or his internet died. I don't know.
or both.
yeah,
Yeah, I mean he might be on his hotspot and then he walks downstairs and. So yeah, sure. Let's go into open world on right with Bannerlord, I guess.
Okay, or op- early access done right?
Yeah.
Because this is the thing I wanted to talk about.
Let's hit that point. The early access of Bannerlord. Let's look at my
Because last
history
time
of.
we were talking about it, it came out of nowhere. But the thing I wasn't aware of is it's early access coming out of nowhere, right? It's like it's still full on
Yeah.
in development, and they just go, "Hey, we ran out of money. Come play our
Oh
game."
yeah. So I got it on March 31st.
Right?
So they ran out of money for the release, so they've done a full early access. So I bought it on the 31st. April 1st patch, April 3rd patch, April 4th patch, April 5th, April 6th patch, 7, 8, 9 patches in a row, 10 another patch, 11 another patch, 13 another patch, 16 another patch, 17 another patch, and they've constantly been patching relevantly. They've been rolling out big changes, big updates, big upgrades, performance upgrades, everything you want in from an early access, you know, everything you want the developers to do. They've been doing it, and it's so amazing. You like I don't visit. I'm not active on Reddit. I am active on Reddit, but not on the Bannerlord Reddit.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not part of the community, but still I feel so grateful and close to the developers that I found a bug. That's my one contribution to the discussions. I found a bug. I said, "Hey, this is a bug. Kind of destroyed my save, and it wasn't even my fault."
Mm-hmm.
And they patched that
That's very nice.
the next day.
that's really cool.
Wow. Okay, that's some rapid response.
Well,
Whoa.
36 hours. You know, I
Sure. Still.
uploaded it.
Oh no.
I uploaded it at 12:30 at night. So then, like the next day, around uh, in the middle of the day, they rolled out the patch, and I was like, "Yeah, thank you, very nice." And it didn't rescue my save, but that's the risk of playing early access.
Yeah.
But I'm so happy that they're actually doing active development on it right now.
Right.
That's yeah.
But that's the point.
Mhm.
Exactly what you just said hit me really well. Oh, that's Arthur just. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, that messes up
The
our
risk
template.
of early access should be bugs, your save file corrupting,
Yeah.
shit not being proper. Not, hey, maybe the developers are just gonna like fuck off about this in like a month or whatever, or
Yeah,
whatever.
exactly. Then again, this is a quite the big studio and everything.
Arthur's back in 5 minutes.
Although I have to say, how the fuck did they take 10 years to produce this? Um,
I don't think
I mean,
they
they
did,
probably
but
haven't been working 10 years.
yeah.
no, I know. But we've been waiting for 10 years, and they've announced it hold up, I'm gonna look it up right now. But that's
Like-
but
What's the first game? Was it like? Did it have a lot of downloads? Did a lot of people buy
the
it?
first.
Who is it?
Oh,
He's back.
He's
I'm back.
back.
Okay,
And
Sorry
so
about
you're back
I
from outer space.
I bent over for a new beer, and then my computer was like, "Let's die now." And
I have decided that I
Wait,
want to die.
So anyway, they announced Bannerlord on the 27th of September 2012.
nice.
Yeah, no, that's a bit.
That's
I mean, after 8 years of development, you kind of expect quite a good game.
well, no. What I expect is that after 8 years of development, you do indeed run out of money. That's
Yeah.
yeah.
You
That
also
would do the
expect after
trick.
8 years of development for the project to get cancelled. But
Yeah, I would expect like how long would you work on a game? A year, maybe two before early access,
Yeah.
and then
I think AAA games generally don't get more than 2 years of development. I think. And that's Lumen dropping. Well,
Yeah.
okay, we'll just.
Oh, that's a
Dropping people
nice
left, right,
picture, though. That's
that is
nice
some
picture.
lovely view.
For anyone
Okay.
interested,
Right. Name it. Recent AAA game.
any recent AAA game.
Just a recent AAA game. It doesn't matter.
Oh Jesus, this one.
What's recent?
I hate the
Darksiders
fact
3,
that
that's
none of
not
us can name any
recent.
recent AAA games.
Why? Why
Is
are
Darksiders
we
3
game technology students?
Recent? Define recent.
Like
Doom
Red Dead
Eternal.
Redemption is.
Doom
Oh yeah, of course, yeah.
Doom
I'm
is
just
it.
gonna, because I'm just,
Ooh, that's a window.
I'm
Animal Crossing.
I'm really, yeah. fair
Is that
enough.
AAA? Does that count
Yeah,
as
sure,
AAA?
that's AAA.
Yeah,
Double A.
I'm
Uh,
curious
but-
when they
but-
started development
but-
on Doom Eternal.
Ooh, that's good view.
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
What?
yeah, boy.
Look at it go.
nice.
That's
It's
another
growing.
nipple.
Oh, it be going. It be going.
Let's cut that from the video. Hey, but
Ooh,
you're
yeah.
not gonna. So I'm just gonna do a dance. Whee!
Okay.
Whee!
But anyway.
So
It's
when
still
was Doom,
going.
when was the new Doom released?
I don't know, bro. I don't play Dom.
Dumb.
2016.
No. That was the last version. Doom Eternal is like a couple of
Yeah, no,
weeks.
no, I was talking
Maybe
about.
months?
Okay, so
Months?
Oh, the
at
20th of
most,
March.
Doom Eternal has been in development for 4 years.
Mm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Great, yeah. So that's.
Yeah.
But to be fair, they probably, I think they reused most of the engine.
Yeah, but they did the same for Mountain Blade, I assume.
Right. Okay.
that.
So
You know
yeah,
what they
after
say
being in
about
development for
the
twice as long, yeah, you'd expect to be, yeah. Arthur's just slowly. Ooh,
Yeah, so Doom Eternal was announced in 2018.
Yeah,
so
fair
they've-
enough. But that means they'd been working on it for a bit longer.
Yeah, for say 3 years,
Sure.
which is, I mean,
I spilled my beer. Oh no.
Arthur is the beer wizard.
nice.
the beer wizard. I make little foam nipples.
Oh, meanwhile, I spilled mine. I'm just.
Oh,
Oh,
that's so
poor
sad.
guy.
No.
No, but
Such a real thing.
My notations for High Rise of Sacrifice. No.
Oh,
No.
no.
I was
When
like
are we-
doing all those math, like, oh my god, it needs to be higher than this, but lower than this, and then I usually draw them out on like pieces of paper to visualize it, because
Oh,
that works a
same.
lot better
That
than
works.
just doing it in your head. And now the papers are soaked in beer.
That just
Yay.
adds to the character of the paper.
And also the stand of my microphone. That's my microphone.
Arthur, what are you doing with
Hello.
your beers that they produce such foam nipples?
I do this, look. And then I do.
Blah, 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 blah.
And then they rise slowly but surely. they will rise once more.
Arthur's like a necromancer for beer.
Speaking of things that will rise once more,
Okay.
the new Netflix series Letter for the King, or as we in Dutch like to call
Brief
it,
van- Is it
the
Brief van de
Koning.
Koning?
Het
Is it? Is it?
Is it inspired
It
on
is
that?
literally-
Okay.
Yeah, it's a what is it? 30-year-old children's book. There's a great Dutch movie of it, and I'm now watching the series.
Is it any good?
The series or the
But Brief van de Koning is
I read the book.
It's Dutch,
This was
right?
fucking
yeah,
amazing.
it's Dutch. The book is amazing. The Dutch film is amazing.
I've never
I mean,
seen
my
the film,
childhood right
actually,
there.
I think. Oh no, I
The-
have. It was okay.
Okay, it was sure, but are we still there?
Yeah,
Everybody?
Yep.
Yeah.
You good?
All right. So it was okay, but this new series just goes away from the original story,
Oh, okay.
which
That
is
doesn't make it bad though.
no, I know it's a good series,
Okay.
but it's not my Brief
It's-
for the Koning, which is
yeah.
Yeah, yeah. I,
I
feel
mean
you.
we've all been there when
It's
like, you
are
read
we?
a
It's
book.
not the same kind of thing.
Yeah, but then especially because it's it's an English remake. Yes.
Yeah.
Oh.
I know
Yeah,
my nipple
Yeah,
is
no, me
lopsided.
neither.
Oh, my desk
Gonna-
is sticky.
It's gonna fall. No. No.
Lick it.
Yeah.
Sound effects by Mr. Solar. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, boy.
yeah. So, do you guys want to do some hypotheticals now?
Already?
Yeah, I think
long
we
have we
need
been
to.
filming?
Hit me with
We've
them.
been on for 52 minutes.
Oh,
Yeah,
yeah.
let's go on for a bit because, like, honestly, somehow I'm not feeling the. I'm not finding any easy conversation points really. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's like, yeah, I know what it is today. But yeah, go on with the hypotheticals. Which is this is
By
exactly.
the way, I finally found out what I was wanting to say.
Oh,
Yeah.
say it.
Go ahead.
What I've been doing this week. I've been doing two stuff. I've been learning about SEO, which is
Yeah.
amazingly interesting. It's how search engines, index and
Oh,
find
yeah.
websites based on keywords you search.
Mm-hmm.
And I've been watching and rewatching a lot of Exurbia. I think he's called Exurbia.
Yes.
That dude's amazing. And
Yes.
he has this video
Yes.
about
Okay.
where he about digital hygiene, he calls it,
Oh, right. Yeah.
where our attention span kind of been fucked up by technology.
Oh, yeah.
Because-
Absolutely.
It has.
And it's true when he said that most people don't use the internet as a tool anymore to achieve something, but as a way to fight off boredom, which got me thinking. So I tried to write down a lot of what I wanted to do, kind of like keep track of this checklist from what I want to do each day,
Mm-hmm.
and only use the internet for something that is on that list.
Oh, that's cool.
The only things that do not this I don't do this for the whole day because God knows I love my YouTube. So from 10 till 11, so 10 in the morning till 11 in the evening, I only use the internet for stuff that is on that list.
Okay.
And it's like topics to research or something? Or
Yeah, it's just like, if I say today I want to do stuff for graphics for the university, I want to work on high rise, I want to work on my conlang, I want to do this, I want to do that. I write it down on my list, and only if me searching or looking at the thing I'm looking at justifies as part of one of those items,
Mm-hmm.
I can use it. Otherwise, I won't use the internet for it.
That's really cool.
And really, it's
That's
really
actually a good idea.
refreshing.
Actually,
Yeah.
I'm gonna go on a limb, and I want to join you on this.
I'm
Yeah,
also
let's
gonna
make a
join you.
movement.
I noticed like I'm working on university like multiple hours a day, but or well, all day almost actually. But I feel like I could get a lot more done because I'm always getting distracted because
Hmm.
you're starting like a class and the teacher starts speaking and he's just like, oh yeah, these are factors, and you're like, yeah, I know
Uh-huh.
what the hell a factor is.
Mm-hmm.
And then you kind of get bored and you're like, oh well, while he talks about factors, I'm just look up something else.
You know. Yeah.
And in the end, I didn't even finish the lecture about about factors.
Irony,
So yeah.
sweet irony.
Yeah. It
Yeah.
really I I really noticed it when I wanted to reread a book I had. I recently ordered a book about real-time collision detection.
Oh, that's very
I
cool.
don't know
That's
how
very
the author was
interesting.
called again, but I'll put it up on the screen. Because I thought that would be interesting, and collision is something you always have to do in games, pretty much. So it's good to have a book on it.
Yeah.
And it's
And
hard.
then I was like, I have a lot of cool books here already. I have a lot of free time now. Why don't I start rereading, or reading some of the books I have? So I started to reread this book called Ciencia, which is very cool. It's a book full of proofs, mathematical and physical and biological proofs.
Ah, that's very cool.
Uh,
I think you
and
mentioned
it's
this
very,
earlier, actually.
it's a very cool and interesting book. And I noticed that I found it really interesting, but really hard to keep concentration for like longer than 15 minutes at once reading the book. I was like really struggling to get past the 50-minute mark.
Mm-hmm.
And that just kind of, it was like a wake-up call for me. I was like, this is a really good book, and I used to be able to read this book in almost one sitting, and now I can't even
Yeah.
get through like the first 3 chapters.
Yeah, like 5 years or so ago, when I was reading every night. Like my
Mhm.
father would always come down to me and be like, "Why are you still up? Stop reading!" And he would take away my books. And now, like,
Oh, how
I
times have
haven't touched a
changed.
book that wasn't for uni in almost a year.
Hmm.
Like I,
Yeah.
I barely read anymore. We still have like a subscription of the Donald Duck magazine.
So
It's
jealous. So
amazing.
I'm
Still read
still
them.
sad I had to give this up. Actually,
Yeah,
which makes
yeah,
me think, how
no,
much
we've
is
actually
that? Because I'm
canceled
now at the age that I
No.
might want to buy this again.
it. Yeah, we've canceled the subscription now because no one really reads them, and I like read them once every 2 weeks or so for like 10 minutes, and then I'm like, oh yeah, that was cool. But yeah, I have had a subscription since like 2007, so I have a couple, like 1,000 or so Donald Duck magazines,
That's a lot
including
of
some
Donald
pretty
Duck magazines.
rare ones from 1952.
I
So
have to
yeah,
say, one of the best ways to start reading a book and be forced to focus is to, well, in Dutch it would be surveilled. I don't know what the word is in English, but to like, uh,
Teacher assistant?
survey, like
yeah,
Survey?
to survey a test basically. Especially if the test is 3 hours, you're just supposed to sit there while the kids do their thing, and all these kids
Oh right,
they're
yeah.
hyper focused, and like that's the great thing about my work. I get to do that every now and then, and I just bring a book, and what I do is I make their test. Well, no, actually, I start off thinking I'm gonna read my book, and then I get bored by after 10 minutes. Then I pick up a spare copy of the test and I do their test, which takes me about half the time it takes them.
Yeah,
Half
but I
the
mean,
time
you
they
do
get.
tests very quickly in general, right? Like this is just a thing.
Yeah, I do tests very quickly in general, but then I mean, I just bump out the test, which is really funny doing tests from like your level of high school
Mm-hmm.
and seeing how much you've improved just over the past year. Just
Hmm.
doing all
Yeah.
tests and seeing.
I mean, that only works in certain cases. Like if I were to do like a
If I
chemistry
would.
test right now, I would definitely
No,
fail.
no, no. But I did a business test, with business economics, and I'm actually quite close with the teacher. He taught me in fifth and sixth year, and now we're co-workers. So I just
It's the
slipped
dream.
my test in there with written on top. It's not for a grade, but I mean, if you want to grade it, might be fun. And then he texted me like, "Hey, you got an 8.5."
All right.
Nice.
I mean,
Okay.
I don't think you realize how insignificant high school is. I'm not saying the tests are easy, but like
Yeah,
high
you just
school and
transition very quickly into another level of thinking.
yeah, it's this whole step, and it's so amazing. And but then anyway, as I was saying, after half of the time for the test, I picked up the book again because there was nothing to do, and I just sit there reading my book, occasionally looking at the kids, giving me the perfect excuse for when I lose my focus on the book. I can just look at the kids and see if there's any cheating going on, which there isn't because they're the they're
You
the
rule
chillest
with an
kids.
iron fist.
Well, no, it's basically
Fear will keep them in line.
the trick is at the beginning of the test, tell them don't have your just have your pens, don't have them in a little book or anything because that's where the cheating happens. Look at all the calculators, see if there's like you know the cover, you write something on the inside, slide it on the bottom of the calculator, and then they look at the calculator, see that there's you unslide the thing. That's the thing.
Misha, you seem surprised.
That's actually pretty smart, not gonna lie.
Wait, you didn't know this?
No.
Take
Bro,
the water
we had-
bottle, hold it up against the light, see if there's anything written on the
Yeah.
inside of the label.
Yeah,
It's this,
What? Oh, come on.
all good tricks.
which
all
like
good tricks.
it's 5 minutes, and I've been frustrated while in high school because I saw all these kids, but I ain't no snitch, you know. It's
Yeah.
Yeah,
To loop back on like way before, I was talking about this YouTuber, Exerbia, and
Yes.
I love
Yes.
his view on existentialism and nihilism
Oh yeah.
because
Exerbia is the reason I'm an existentialist. Like Jesus Christ.
well, like I would classify myself as a nihilist because I do believe that all the worth in the world is made up. But the problem is that nihilists are always so negative about it.
Mm-hmm.
If
Yes,
you understand.
exactly.
It's always, there is no inherent value to anything in the world, so there must be no value, so fuck,
Yeah,
we're doomed,
fair enough.
kind of thing. And what I like about Exerbia is that he takes the approach that I believe in, is that because there is no inherent value to the world, the only true value you get out of living is the value you give it yourself.
Yeah, exactly.
The fake value that you create for yourself. But that means that all the drive and the value you can get out of your life is up to you to get. It's
Yeah.
If nothing matters, it doesn't matter that nothing matters. As long as you
Exactly.
keep dying, kind
So
of.
amazing. Yeah.
And that view, I think it's so hard to find. I've been looking at a lot of videos about nihilism, and I think that a lot of them end in this way that, well, there must be this purpose for humanity, or otherwise, fuck.
Yeah.
And I just don't agree with that. So that's
Yeah.
why I really like Exerbia, because
Yeah, I think a better way of putting it is positive nihilism, right? It's like
positive nihilism.
I must
Which
say, I've
I
never
completely
heard of
agree
this
with.
guy. I've never heard of him, but I really agree with it. It's actually something I have been thinking about the last couple of weeks because, well, what the hell else is there to do
Yeah.
since everything's cancelled? But like I have been thinking about like
I'll put his name in
Like,
chat because his name is.
some of those like how do I see myself? Like
Yeah.
what makes me happy? But that's actually exactly what I've been thinking. Like I do believe that we're just some random coincidence that happened, but I also think it's amazing what we've accomplished. Like
Yeah.
imagine just out of random chance some carbon just formed
Mm-hmm.
and we made the world what it is. Like we're sitting in houses that are comfortably warm. We're we're right now video chatting with each other,
Yeah, it's
and
so
I'm
weird.
50 kilometers away from you three. So, I mean,
Yeah. Would greatly
Only that
recommend anything by
already.
Xerbia. He has
Yep.
a load of stuff from everything from like,
Mhm.
you know, apocalypse situations to like funny stories and existentialism and like, you know, fixing your life shit, and it's all fucking amazing. He's probably one of my
Yep.
favorite artists out there.
Unlimited rice pudding.
Unlimited recipe. Yes. Oh my god. And nothing will ever ruin this. It's probably his favorite video of mine. Because it's so heartfelt and it's so true. Oh, I love that. I love his work. He also has books, which I haven't gotten around to reading yet.
Yeah, true. I really want to find some of those or buy some of those.
So,
But it's this trend I started seeing more and more because during or because of this whole Corona thing, I've been homestuck a lot, and I've been watching a lot of YouTube stuff, and so I've been watching a lot of video essays and
oh yeah.
videos like that kind of stuff. Like Jacob Geller makes a few very interesting ones.
Please do send them to me and put them in the description because I'm really interested
Yeah,
in finding some
I'll definitely put them in the description. And I've just been watching a lot of very interesting content. But what I've noticed is that most of the things that lean towards the nihilistic, well, let me generalize it first. Every video I've noticed that is of a kind of view, subjective view that it's trying to explain or explore,
Mm-hmm.
ends their video with this kind of
Grim, darkish.
no, just like a explosion of out of proportion, hyperbolic, super emotion. You know, it's like
Yeah,
it
yeah.
builds up to this gigantic crescendo,
Oh
and
yeah,
it's logical
absolutely.
because story wise, that's how you get attention.
Yeah,
You know, you
exactly.
start something cool and then you slowly build up, and you. But
Yeah.
it kind of what I've noticed is that for most part they take it too far. Once you start to notice it, you kind of get taken out of it because then it's very easy. I watched this video of Tom Scott recently about
Also amazing guy.
there's no also great guy that there's no algorithm for truth.
Mm-hmm.
And he said in that it's like an hour long speech he's giving. He said that YouTube is very good at funneling on how their algorithm for recommendations work, funneling extremism. That you watch something more, and you keep getting more and more extreme in that part.
Mm-hmm.
And it is kind of like that with endings of videos of video essays. They just start to become very, they have very good points and they seem very reasonable, but in the last 5 minutes, they just crescendo so big that it becomes too extreme, too far, too.
On
well,
that
not
note, I do
emotional.
have to say, Tom Scott doesn't do this,
Yeah, also.
and that's like, yeah, he's great with that because at first I thought his videos were boring. Well, boring. It's also probably because it's kind of nerdy and I was a bit too young for that. But now that I've learned to appreciate his style of video and his outlook on the world, where he finds this nugget of information and tries to find out
Yeah.
what there is to that, you know.
Mhm.
And then he ends usually on a bit of a question or a bit of a small
Yeah,
conclusion, or
it's-
literally just answering the question he asked at he. Well,
Mhm.
he proposes a question
Sure.
more
Yeah.
than asks a question. At the beginning of the video. That's actually good informative content,
Yeah.
you know,
Mm-hmm.
I love
and
that.
it does that pretty well.
I think
So
Tom
shout
Scott
out
is
to
a
Tom Scott.
really fucking great YouTuber.
Mhm.
He's probably made one of my favorite YouTube videos ever. I don't know if you guys seen that. It's about like neural implants and blocking people in real life.
Yeah.
Oh, I haven't seen that one.
It is
Yeah.
amazing, and I would highly recommend anybody go check that out. It still gives me chills every time I watch it.
But yeah, it's something I noticed that there's this video. I'm gonna call these videos out because this is what I noticed. But not that they're bad videos or anything, because they're
No.
pretty great. But I really noticed it on Jacob Geller's video on the size of the universe and paper clips. which is an interesting combination. But he talks about Space Engine. He talks about
Oh
the
yeah, I
clicker
think
game
I've seen
Paperclip.
this. It's pretty good.
Paperclips. It's a good video, but again, you had me to like the whole video, and then at the end, he burst out in this emotional rant about how there either be, and this video is very much kind of nihilistic. You know,
Yeah.
it's flirting with the idea of nihilism. And it just loses me at the end because he says that either I am a nihilist and that is very negative, or there must be a purpose, or otherwise I'm, sad about it. And he goes through he takes it to such a extreme length that it's just jarring. And I started to notice this a lot in a lot of videos, and I don't know, it's just.
But wouldn't you say? All right, we're going into a bit of philosophy here. Wouldn't you say that there is most definitely a purpose, but we don't know what it is? There's a purpose for humanity, but our part in humanity is so tiny that even if everybody that's currently alive worked together, we couldn't figure it out. And that because there is such a big span, we just have to find meaning for ourselves, and then that would probably fulfill the meaning of the larger part of humankind.
Well, no, actually, I don't think so, because, well, for humanity to have a purpose, then it needs to have been created with that purpose in mind. And for that to happen, that needs some kind of almighty
It doesn't
creator.
need to have it, but it's.
But very likely. I think humanity doesn't have a purpose. It has like an end of sorts. Like there is a time when humanity's probably gonna die out, since the universe is gonna be, as far as we know,
Yeah, but-
infinitely old, and in that time infinite things are gonna happen. And I think that you can see like that end goal, like the thing we're all working to do, what we don't know is yet. You can maybe call that a purpose, but it isn't a purpose. Like, we've created humanity.
It
with
isn't
that
a
purpose in mind.
day-to-day purpose. No, that's right. We aren't created with a purpose. No, I would agree with that. Yeah, I think I agree with you. Where you have to find your own purpose and find your own goals in life.
It's
But
very
it's,
much. There is no inherent value at being human. You must make it. In that sense, you could say that humanity's purpose is for the individual human to find its own purpose.
yeah, but I wouldn't. That's a bit too individualistic, if you know what I mean. Like, it's not. I need to find my own purpose. We need to find our own purpose. We need to help each other find our own purpose.
Yeah, definitely.
I
But
would
it's just
expect
like
that
every
seems
person
like a
has
tool.
their own purpose in life, which doesn't mean that it isn't helpful or part of a greater scheme of something. But I do not believe that there is a overarching purpose for humanity to fulfill. We are just an happenstance, and luckily we can think about shit like this because of the happenstances that happened, and thus we have the ability to think about what we want in our span in our time span here. Thus we can think of what we want that span to evaluate to have to contain, and
Yeah,
that is our purpose, to find what we want that to be.
I don't have trouble believing, but I guess I kind of have trouble accepting that we are pure happenstance.
Yeah.
Where I don't want, by purpose, I don't mean the overarching goal. I just mean, why why did the happenstances in such a way that the happenstances this? Yes,
So
you know
just
what I mean?
why did it happen? Why?
Yeah.
Like, if it happened,
There has to be a why, not a goal, but a why, an explanation.
well, it could just be that there were the right circumstances on our planet, just the right
Yeah, but
circumstances, and that it thus has happened.
Yeah, scientifically,
what
that's the most likely why.
what were the circumstances, and why were those circumstances happened?
Well, the circumstances were there because of what happened to the planet before, and
I'm going
it's
real
interesting because
Socrates on you.
actually,
Why?
Exeria has a great video about this.
Yeah,
That every
he
why
does.
question ends up at the constants of the universe, as far as we know it.
Yeah.
So the constants of the universe, those are the eventual answers to all whys.
But we
And
don't
we
know
don't
where
know.
the fuck they
We
come
don't know
from.
if those are created, if those are just like that, if those are because of we are a part of a multiverse, and thus we are why because we're in this one and not that other universe.
Yeah.
That's just it boils down to that. So and eventually where you until we find an answer on where the constants come from, it's where do you believe the constants come from, and that's just your why.
Yeah.
My friend has a very interesting theory, which he believes, that humanity is like a how do you explain it? It's like a loading program for a higher entity, and thus we are waiting, we are experiencing until the whole of humanity has a spiritual awakening, some sort of like mental breakthrough somewhere over the
Mhm.
whole of humanity, and that wakes us up, as if waking up by a dream. Actually, Kurt Kazak made a video kind of like that,
But
called
the
The
egg?
Egg. Yeah, kind of like that, but a bit different. That humanity is this part of one entity, and
Yeah.
we're just
I
going
like
on
that
until
view.
suddenly we realize it. Everyone realizes it. Boom, we wake up, and
I'm not
then
sure
we
if
are
I
part
agree
of
with it, but I really like the
it.
idea of
I
that.
do not agree with it.
No,
I
I
do not
don't.
believe in it, but it's a very cool theory.
Yeah.
It's a fun thought to play with.
No, I saw this theory. I think a year ago. I don't know who posted. I believe it might have been the infographic show or something like that. It was an animation, but only to like illustrate the purpose. And it was like that humanity is like always moving on, but the fact that we haven't found life in outer space means that either we are the most developed species,
Or there's a hurdle to come that will
or
destroy
there's a
us.
hurdle that we can't overcome,
Yeah.
or at least no one else has yet overcome.
Well,
And
I mean,
we're
there's
at that
actually
hurdle right now.
quite a few more reasonable explanations, but yeah.
But that's the Fermi paradox, right?
Yeah, this is the Fermi paradox, and it has many reasonable solutions.
Really?
Yeah,
Like
so the
what?
Fermi paradox basically says, right? So you can do the math on this, right? It's like, okay, we know the approximate size of the universe. We know the approximate amount of stars. We know the ratio of those which are inhabitable zones. We can calculate with reasonable certainty that there is a seriously big amount of planets that would be in Earth-like conditions. And so the reasonable question that arises is, where the fuck are the aliens, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, there's a lot of reasonable answers to that. One of which is the great filters, which you just talked about. It's like these hurdles that we cannot overcome, or maybe we have overcome, but others cannot overcome them.
Yeah.
For which, by the way, it would be good for us not to find any aliens, because it means we have already passed the great filter. Another great theory is there are none. We're just that fucking rare. I have trouble believing that in a universe of this size,
Yeah.
but I could reasonably accept that there's just too much space between them to ever reasonably meet.
I think I do not believe we're that rare that there isn't life beyond our planet, but sentient life I could just believe. Like I could believe that we're the only sentient life, just because it's such a.
But they have
it
already
happened-
found
It is
life,
really
right?
complex.
Mm-hmm.
They have already found microorganisms, or am I
No.
wrong in stating that?
I don't think so.
Oh.
No. No, that
Where?
doesn't-
I think they found like evidence of possibility.
Yeah, I
They
think
found
they
like
found
they
something
found
like that
evidence
before.
of something in a place on Mars where there's like this is evidence that there is possibility that there was a situation on Mars really long ago where microlife could happen.
Oh yeah, they found organic compounds, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh,
But
yeah.
shit
that
could create-
term is distinctly misleading. This organic compounds are compounds that on Earth are created by living things. And
Mm.
the theory is, which isn't unreasonable, by the way, but it isn't perfectly like watertight either. Is that okay? If there was life like Earth's on other planets, then we would find those organic compounds there too, right? And thus, finding organic compounds on those planets could potentially point us to saying, hey, there might have been life there, very much like Earth's life.
Yeah.
However, it
Yeah.
really assumes that all that life is like the same, has like the same base chemistry,
Yeah, exactly.
which we don't know.
Oh god, I
Could
forget his
actually
name
be very
always.
interesting. Like if we found life in outer space that wasn't carbon based,
Yeah, be really
that would be
interesting.
really fucking interesting because that also means like it doesn't need to be in the habitable zone because it could
Yeah.
just use an entire different.
It also means you
different
couldn't
chemistry
eat it.
There is this guy, a YouTuber. Lots of YouTuber shout outs in this podcast.
Oh,
Called
this is gonna be one chunky description.
palette.
I don't know how to pronounce this. Biblaridian. And Biblaridian, there's a lot of conlanding stuff. I know him because of his
Wait, I think
conlanding.
I know what you're talking
But
about.
he has this series where he, from the ground up, he creates a planet in the Goldilocks zone,
yeah.
and he calculates the atmosphere and everything, and he just starts, pumping out. Okay, so
So cool.
what's a possible alien life that could exist in the oceans as a microorganism, and what could that evolve in, and what could that evolve in, and like he has 6 episodes now in this series, and we're just starting to crawl onto land, and like the first plants and stuff has arrived. It's a really cool series. It's called Alien Biospheres, and it's
Oh yeah, I know this from the
Really cool.
crossover with Artifaction, who I watch.
yeah,
Who's also a really cool YouTuber.
Artifaction is really
Oh.
cool. Yeah.
No.
Such good content out there. Go watch it all.
Yeah, you've got nothing better to do. Well, then again, I say you've got nothing better to do, and here I am, wanting to work more on uni, wanting to work more on high rise, wanting to,
These
all
are
that.
they are weird times, my dudes.
Yeah.
So,
Very weird times.
do we want to continue talking about our philosophical debate on
Well,
life,
or do we have enough
or
content?
do we want to go?
We
We've
have
been, we've
about
been
an
filming
hour
for
55 of content.
Do we want
However, I
hypotheticals?
think literally more than half of that will not be usable.
I think probably not. But that's alright.
But I
So,
think
do we
that's
want to do
okay,
hypotheticals and round up?
Yeah.
I do think so. Yeah.
So, which means we're gonna do another top 3, which we don't know,
Oh.
or where everybody doesn't know what the fuck the top 3 is.
I like those.
So,
Yes.
I have a great idea.
Okay,
Okay.
hit me with it.
So top 3, yeah?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Pickle, pin, and matchstick.
Like a pin, like a hairpin, or like a pin you make. I don't know even. I don't even know the word in English.
Punaise.
Oh
That's
yeah.
it.
Okay. Okay.
Pin,
yeah.
matchstick,
Thing like that.
pickle.
Thumbtack.
Thumbtack, that's what they call.
Yeah.
Thumbtack, matchstick, pickle.
What?
Oh, this one is really hard.
This
What?
one's this is good. This is good.
Contact match pickle. So they're all like pointy. Ish.
Very pointy pickle.
Like if you would put a pickle in a pencil sharpener, like.
Oh god, I have to try that now. Thanks.
Oh no, why would you?
I just have to try that now. He said it, so I have to.
Blanket,
Blanket, okay.
knife, onion.
Blanket, knife, onion.
I really don't
I was
know
gonna go with
what
knife
it
as
is.
well. I was gonna go. Let's see, knife, pencil, banana.
Knife, pencil, banana, nice.
Okay, wait. You had matchstick, pin, and pickle, right? So I would go lighter. Let's just
Lighter.
get it out of the way, okay? Let's go with scissors and a mango.
A mango.
A mango. You know,
Nice.
like yellow glasses. Let's go for a mango.
Okay, interesting answers. So these are the approximate shapes of our penises. Thank you very much for watching. I hope
I
to see you
walked
next
off a
time
mango penis.
in our podcast. And goodbye.
Goodbye.